All right, so now that we have converted a couple integrations from V3 to V4, we're going to do a little exercise that will actually implement V4 on a site that doesn't even have V3 integrated. So it's just a very classic full page redirect PayPal integration. So using what we know about Checkout.js, what steps will we need to take to convert a classic EC merchant? Well, first off, we need to figure out a way to get the Checkout.js script onto the merchant site. Since they currently don't have it, we can use JavaScript to pull that off. Secondly, we'll want to remove the current button. Since we have to render a new button, we need to remove the old one. Then we need to render the button component, which is the new Checkout.js version 4 button. We're going to want to get a token from their current checkout process and just return it in the payment callback. And then we're going to want to use actions redirect in the onAuthorize in order to redirect the user to the return URL. And we'll also want to do the same in the cancel URL. So if we do all of these steps, the whole checkout process should actually still work because we are just pulling in PayPal onto newegg.com, going through the flow, and then redirecting to the return or cancel URL just like Newegg currently expects. So we're going to open the client conversion convert.js file to complete this exercise. So locate part 1 in the convert.js file. When complete, you should be able to select all in the file, Control A or however you do it on Mac, and paste it in the Chrome console. When you hit enter, you should see the Checkout.js logs in the console, and you should also see it in the source tab. So go ahead and pause this video and take a couple minutes to try and solve this on your own. Follow the inline comments to complete. You may need to go to Google and try and figure out how to create a script tag and insert it into the page using JavaScript. All right, if you haven't done so, please pause the video now because I'm about to go over the answer to this exercise. All right, so if I go back to our training application under client conversion check convert and find part 1, it says create a script tag. Use Google to figure out how to create it. So if you would have Googled around a little bit, you probably would have found something like basically using document create element to create a script tag. But you set that to a variable, so I'm going to say variable PayPal script tag is equal document dot create element, and then we're creating a script tag. So that creates an HTML script tag. So now we just need to set its attributes. So I'm just going to say PayPal script tag dot type equals text JavaScript. And then I'm going to say PayPal script tag dot source equals, and I gave you the source to use. Copy that. Then it says make sure you set the onload property. And this is because we need to wait for this script to completely load before we start our PayPal rendering, our checkout component, button component rendering. So we want to say PayPal script tag onload equals PayPal checkout ready, which is the function that I defined down here, which we'll finish in part 3. But basically, it just goes through and does the button rendering only once. So I'm checking to make sure it hasn't been already executed. And then the final part is to append the script tag to the document head. So we just say document.head.append child, and we give it our PayPal script tag. All right, and that should be it. I'll go ahead and save it. And then we should be able to select all and then go to our Newegg shopping cart. I already added an item to my cart. I'm on my cart page and I see the PayPal button down here. So if I switch over to the console and I paste helps if I copy. And now I paste and I hit enter. I should see the checkout.js logs, which I do. And I also should see the PayPal objects in the sources tab now, which I do. All right, so that is it for the first part of this exercise. Here's the answer. If you didn't get a chance to copy it, please do that now. Otherwise, we will move on to the next part of this exercise. So part 2, remove the old button. So we're going to locate part 2 in the convert.js file. When complete, you should be able to select all in the file, paste it into Chrome console, and it should remove the old button on newegg.com. So you're going to have to use some experience on inspecting the actual button and finding out what to remove in order to complete this. Please pause the video and take a couple minutes to try and solve this on your own and follow the inline comments to complete. Or if you haven't done so, please pause the video now because I'm about to go through the answer for part 2. All right, so we find part 2, remove the old PayPal button. It says go to newegg.com's cart page and click the PayPal button, and then copy the EC token from the URL and place it in a variable named PayPal token. So place it in a variable called PayPal token equals string, and we are going to go back to Newegg. I'm going to refresh the page, and then I am going to click the PayPal button. Then once this token comes in, you can go ahead and copy it. Okay. And paste that in there. All right, then it says inspect the current button. So we'll go back to the Newegg, go back to newegg.com. So we're going to inspect the current button. It says target the button and place it in a variable called old button. So we need to target the button, put it in a variable called old button. So now I got to figure out how to target it. So when I inspected it, I see that it's currently an A tag. I don't really want to target that. But then above it, I have a div here, which would be nice to target, so I can just render my component into that div. It has a class third-party button, which these all have, so we can't really use that. But then I'll see that there is a class called PayPal button, which looks to be unique. So we can actually target things via class as well. So I'm going to copy that class Now I'm going to say document.get element by class name and get element by PayPal button. Now when you do a get element by class name, since classes aren't unique, it could return multiple ones, so it actually returns an array. So we're just going to say the very first one in the array. And it says use inner HTML to remove the current contents. So we want to remove everything inside of that. So the easiest way and quickest way is just to say old button.inner HTML equals blank. And that's going to remove everything from within the PayPal button, but leave the actual container itself so we can use it to render a new checkout component or button component. All right, so I'm going to save that. And then it says when we select all now and paste it in newegg.com, it should remove our PayPal button. I'm just going to refresh quick and go down. You see my PayPal button here. So when I paste this into the console, we should remove the PayPal button. And you'll see my PayPal button is now gone. All right, so that should be it for part 2 of this exercise. Here's the answer. If you haven't had a chance to get it copied down yet, go ahead and do so now. Otherwise, we are moving on to the third and final part. All right, so part 3, render the button component. So now that we've removed the button, we need to add one back using the new checkout.js. So let's locate part 3 in the convert.js file. When you complete this section, you should be able to select all in the file, paste it into Chrome console, and it should display the new blue PayPal button. It's seen in the image below. So pause the video, take a couple minutes to try and solve this part on your own, and follow the inline comments to complete. All right, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and pause the video because I'm about to go through the answer to this part. All right, if we switch back to our training app, locate part 3, it says render the button component. So we've done this a couple times already. So we know that we do PayPal.button.render, and that render takes an object and also a DOM ID. But in this case, we are going to pass the actual HTML node element that we actually used above, which is old button. And we'll see that right here at the end. So it says pass the old button variable as the DOM ID. So this portion of the button component doesn't have to be just a string ID. It can also be something that you targeted and already know, which is this old button. All right, so then it says set environment to production. So env is production. And it says create on cancel callback that redirects. So on cancel is a function. We know that on cancel always receives data and actions. We are going to return actions.redirect. And then it says create on error callback. So on error is a function. And for this, it receives an error. And we are just going to console.log it. Right, and then payment callback, which is a function. And it says just return the PayPal token that we got above. So these PayPal tokens are valid for anywhere from 36 to 72 hours. So your script would work for that amount of time until that token expires. create unauthorized callback that does a redirect. So unauthorized, and we know that unauthorized always receives data and actions. Now we are returning actions.redirect. And style the button with a blue, just to prove that we got it right and it's not the yellow one that Newegg uses. We're going to do style color blue. Helps if it's a string. And then we already did the last part, so that should be it. All right, now we should be able to select all and copy. Return to Newegg. I'm going to refresh the page. Find my PayPal button. So now when I paste my full script in here, it should render the new button as well. And there we go. We can see that we now have our blue PayPal button. All right, so that's it for part 3 of this exercise. Here's the answer. If you didn't get a chance to get it in your application, please do so now. And so in conclusion, we should now be able to go through the entire PayPal flow and land on Newegg's return URL. We should also be able to cancel the experience and land on the cancel URL. And since Newegg's actually expecting this sort of functionality on a return from PayPal, because that's how they're currently integrated, everything should work properly. So let's go ahead and submit my flow. I'll go back to Newegg. I'm going to click on my button. I'm going to close down my dev tool so we can see. All right, so when I click continue now, it should actually return me back to the return URL at Newegg, and I should be able to actually submit my order if I wanted to. Boom. So this is Newegg's return URL for Express Checkout. So all I would have to do now is click place order and I would buy this product. All right, so that is actually it for this exercise. And that is it for the actual conversion section of the JavaScript training.